hold it up again, please. 99% ice cubes. 99% ice cubes.
Told you.
Scott, what are my ice cubes made out of?
The tears of your liberal enemies.
No, they're made out of club soda.
Oh,
They're made out of sparkling water.
I didn't know that you make your ice cubes out of sparkling
It's
water,
fucking
and
great.
you use.
I mean, that's a life hack that everyone can enjoy.
That's a good idea, but if you didn't also use a coffee filter for your freaking coasters, it's just so you are in all seriousness, guys are two of my best friends ever. But that being said, Mark, you are also one of the most unorthodox human beings I've ever met or even heard of my entire life, and I mean that with all love.
I do these like rather idiosyncratic bachelor life hacks. I do, and with cooking, with all kinds of stuff. Right?
Is it a life hack though? How is the fucking coaster out of a coffee filter a life hack? How?
It's not.
Well, if I say it's a life hack, then it is one.
You're just as good as any TikTok influencer with that statement.
If you recall, this first got sprung on you guys when I was out of paper towels and needed something for my drink.
So that's just more questions. Why paper towels over buying a one-time, one-use coaster? Like, you see this little thing, this little piece of rubber that was like less than $1.
I don't like the way a sweaty glass sticks to the coaster. My mother, God rest her soul, made her own coasters, and she made them out of like plastic lids from a little peanut jar or a plastic lid from like a margarine container, and she would fill it with carpeting and glue it.
Dude, if she were still with us here today, she could make a killing on Etsy, because that's a fucking good idea. That's a good idea, dude.
So the other thing that this does is it helps keep the drink at a perfect temperature because it does not absorb the warmth from my hand or my fingers.
Josh, can you check the science on that, please? Because I think he believes he's telling the truth.
I got you.
But I'm not sure if math is going to agree with you here.
You are very correct, Scott. I do have, they're not complicated and they're not it's like, I am not an idiosyncratic person, but I do have.
You just said you are not an idiosyncratic person. I said at the beginning of this, you're one of the most idiosyncratic people I've ever heard of, and I mean that as a compliment. I think it's a credit to your personality. I've never heard idiosyncratic being used. It's a neutral term. It's not good or bad, right? Would you say?
I'm not idiosyncratic in philosophy, lifestyle, anything like that. I am idiosyncratic with little things that I do that don't cost a lot of money, et cetera, that improve
You're idiosyncratic with your philosophy and lifestyle as well, but go ahead, please. And I mean that as a compliment. Do you really want to be like, you're like the opposite of like June Cleaver, right? Like everything, you don't do the basic life thing. You never have, and I think that's a good thing. Like, that's idiosyncratic, right? That's what. Well,
maybe upon reflection, you have a very good point, Scott. I guess the reason why I don't think of myself as idiosyncratic is because my image of an idiosyncratic person is like Woody Allen, somebody like who's the guy that wrote In Cold Blood? Who's the author that wrote the book
Truman
In Cold Blood?
Capote?
Correct. Right.
Okay.
David Bowie. Right. We see people like that as idiosyncratic because of the way they dress, because of a lot of different reasons.
So, like anybody that wears a monocle, idiosyncratic.
There's a restaurant in D.C. called The Monocle, and it's been there forever. Do you remember a senator named Herb Kohl from Wisconsin who owned Kohl's stores?
No, I don't. I know Kohl's stores. I just completely made that up.
No
one's ever heard of Herb Kohl.
He was a liberal Democrat, traditionally liberal Democrat, who owned Kohl's, the chain of Kohl's clothing stores. And
raise your hand if you own underwear from Kohl's. or have ever your entire life. Yeah, we all know Coles.
And Bernie Sanders got laughed out of every room he walked into in Washington for like 25 years. He got laughed. No matter what room he walked into, people smirked, rolled their eyes, laughed at him because he was a a kooky old Marxist who liked to who got married in the Soviet Union and always running down to Central America to suck up to some Marxist dictator and talking about the evils of capitalism and how cool socialism was. And he literally got mocked. What did it make any difference? The committee room or whatever committee room he was in, his fellow Democrats mocked him. He was just a strange dude that people, he got mocked. Bernie Sanders got mocked at the National Press Club up until 2015. And Bernie Sanders got to Washington in 1990. Right? He was elected to the House in 1990. That's, what, a quarter of a century where he was
36 years.
Well, if you start the rehabilitation of him in 2015 or so, when he started to get popular on college campuses. Remember, the most popular person on a college campus in 2012, 13, 14, 15 was Ron Paul, right?
Yeah.
Huge crowds. And his son, Rand Paul. And anyway, no, I was in the monocle and I had said hello to Senator Cole and told him that, that I said, I really have to tell you, Senator, that I'm not a member of a political party, but I really admire you as a senator, because here's a man who didn't have to do any public service. He gave up a lot to be a senator. And shortly thereafter, Bernie Sanders walked in, who's never created a job or built a clothing store, whose ideas and ideology are literally counter to that of Herb Kohl. Members of the same political party, although Bernie Sanders says that he's an independent, Herb Kohl took a sip of his rusty nail, rolled his eyes, and smirked. And it was a crowning moment for me because I was like, here's a guy who likes everybody. He was a very nice man, a very cordial man, a very caring and decent, compassionate man. But even he was sort of repulsed by Bernie Sanders.
Just want to say, I think Peter Meyer is kind of along those same lines, and he's in the heir to the Meyer grocery store fortune, and he ran in Michigan for Congress and I think he served, and then he ran and was primaried by a Trump supporter. He was, I think, the only Republican in Congress that voted to impeach Trump after January 6th. So, of course, he hung himself with that, but it was his decision that he made through his
there were other Republican senators that voted to convict Trump.
Maybe the House. Maybe it was the House.
Voted for impeachment, not conviction. Okay, yeah. A lot of people really don't. Anyway. A lot of people. It's a good time for.
Mark, Josh has his hand raised, and that's the rule. Remember, he's allowed to whenever.
Lord, dude, you won't stop. All right. First of all, wrapping a coffee filter around a bourbon bottle or glass will not keep it at a good temperature. Paper filters have no thermal insulation properties, so they will not prevent the liquid from warming up or cooling down. Okay. Next thing. You said when you were talking to Senator Cole, I'm not a member of a political party.
Haven't been a member of
Bullshit.
A political. I'm not a member.
I Googled you. You're a member of the. I can show you right now. Voterrecords.com.
How I vote in a primary doesn't mean I'm a member of the party.
Party affiliation, Republican Party. That's.
I have to defend Mark a little bit here, though, because I'm a registered libertarian voter, but I still consider myself an independent. It's just kind of the closest. So I felt like filling in that box at the time, but I don't think that really makes me a party member. Mark, is it similar with you? Is it just
in the state of Ohio, to vote in a primary, you have to list a party affiliation.
So you did list a party affiliation.
Listing a party affiliation doesn't mean I'm a member of the party, though. I used to be a member of the party. I don't mind admitting that.
Okay.
Right?
That works too.
I mean, I was literally, at one point in my life, not only was I a member of the party, I was a member of the Republican National Committee. I've only voted for a major party candidate for president, I think, once in like 35, 40 years.
Can I tangent on something to make sure we never get to the topic that we were going to talk about today?
Yeah, that was the last thing I was going to say. We got 15 minutes. We haven't got to the actual topic.
I think this might get us there. I think this might kind of get us there. I just had something just clicked in my head. Mark, you said before Bernie Sanders was popular on college campuses, it was Ron and Rand Paul that were popular.
Yes.
I remember myself as a young person, like when I was like about 2021, there being so much like flexibility between being kind of like a lefty kind of socialist a little bit and also being a libertarian. And I felt you could kind of flip flop back and forth in those days because there was like a lot of, it didn't feel so hardcore to be on the left, right? It wasn't like, oh, you have to be with us or you're the enemy. That energy wasn't there when I was 20 years old. And so when you had that kind of libertarian mindset, like, hey, get abortions, let people do drugs, it vibed a lot more with the left than it does.
Absolutely. And it's really a brilliant point. And it's so true. Like, there's no way that people who fluctuated between, being a libertarian or being, progressive, left, when you were in college would have shouted down, would have used Nazi tactics or fascist tactics to shout down speakers on campuses.
Exactly.
That didn't happen back in those days because people who held the beliefs that you just outlined were happy to have an open debate with virtually anybody. And that goes...
it was cool to do so. It was cool to have those debates. It was cool to disagree.
It really was.
I think.
And that goes, and there's a long tradition of that in this country. And I've told you both before. Well, I had spirited debates with literally the Communist Party candidate for president and vice president at my college campus. And these were heated debates. Jarvis Tyner was the vice presidential nominee for the Communist Party of the United States. Angela Davis, Gus Hall, they all came to my college campus, and so did their surrogates. And the heated debates were on literally every subject, the nuclear freeze movement, etc. And they were hot debates. And after the debates, we all went to the Rathskeller and drank beer and smoked weed. Like,
it's so rad. I love that so much.
There was no visceral hatred for the other side. You could viscerally disagree with them on virtually everything, but you didn't hate them for it.
I would settle nowadays for just significantly less hate. Like I said, like for you it was cool, for me it was cool, but just don't be so dogmatic. Like, allow yourself to be wrong. I think a lot of this is young people aren't as resilient. This goes back to what we were talking about last time. I wanted to talk about this time. Young people, I don't think the resilience isn't created through multitudes of reasons. Cultures change, technology, It's made it to where you can't really be so resilient and on your own. Maybe it's because you're so plugged into the social network 24/7 by just being so online and social media and everything.
That's just
why. Yeah, for me, like for Josh, I know you were the same way too. Because Josh, when we met, Josh and I were pretty diametrically opposed, and we still disagree on things even to this day. But
diametrically, that's pretty harsh.
That's too harsh of a word. You're correct. We disagreed on a lot of things, but we still became friends very quickly, and our disagreements had no impact on that whatsoever. Would you agree?
I learned to put up with your commie bullshit. Yeah.
I was never a commie. Oh, I was, but it was before you met me. But yeah.
No, I don't think we ever had,
because it wasn't a thing, and it's just because of the environment we were raised in. It's just I think it goes back to this, what I just said. It was cool to disagree and have friends that were all over the political spectrum. Now it is not cool for anyone, I don't think. And I hope, at least for the young ones, it's coming back around again to where we were. I don't know if you guys think it is. I vibe that it is.
The mindset back then was freedom rings where opinions clash.
And now it's, I will disown you.
I will not. I won't go to your Thanksgiving dinner. I won't participate in a Christmas gathering with you.
Yeah.
It's, oh, you're only left of center and not far left. Fuck you, fascist. You're not on my team.
That sort of makes for a good segue into the topic, which was the challenges of Gen Z, college age young professionals, and I have to issue a correction from last week because I mentioned my godson, and I told a story about how he had very little schoolwork to do on a school day when the school systems all around the country were forcing kids to stay home and do virtual learning. Younger kids at his age, he was like about 9 or so, and I don't think that affected 9-year-olds nearly as much as it affected the Gen Z that we're talking about, which are the college kids and the young professionals just beginning their careers. That group of people, they were robbed of 2 years of the most important part of their life, where you grow so much as a person with your social skills, with your ability to interact with others, with your ability to study and read and learn. And they were robbed of that. And that's a challenge that they are having a difficult time overcoming, and it's through no fault of their own. And I think what we were going to talk about were the challenges that they face that are through no fault of their own. Am I correct about that?
Yeah, there's many, many challenges they face, and and
I'm going to assign some blame. And I'm sorry, Scott, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
And I'm going to assign some blame on the people who are responsible. But go ahead.
You're talking about policymakers, public health officials, things like that during COVID.
Parents,
people that
teachers,
overprotective,
teachers unions,
foolish, risk-averse, silly, surface-level thinkers. Sorry, Josh has his hand raised.
Yeah.
Do you guys still have masks? I'm just curious. I don't. I was thinking about it. Like I could put one on, but I don't know if we have any more. Do you still have some?
Somewhere in my place, I've got some, but I wouldn't know. I wouldn't have the first inkling of where to go look for it.
Yeah.
I have masks because I have horrible allergies. I put them on when I clean. But yeah, so I have masks.
Okay. Just a random question.
But you don't put it on to protect yourself from COVID outdoors.
No. I have a full body condom like thing that I wear to protect myself from COVID outdoors.
Remember the pictures of high school bands where they were playing their instruments and they had holes cut?
Yes.
And they were even making them wear them outside with college bands outdoors. But of course, if you didn't comply with that, you got kicked out of the band.
As if the air expelled from the trumpet didn't have germs in it.
Correct. I think that COVID and a lot of other things made Gen Z very compliant. I think it made them extraordinarily compliant in ways that defy objective thinking, objective reality. There's not a single recorded case in the whole world of anyone ever getting COVID outdoors because of casual contact by walking past a cafe or a person on the sidewalk or a gathering on a street corner or sitting at an outdoor restaurant in the whole world.
I have a theory, and this is a hodgepodge of me putting together shit from people that are much smarter than I am. It all comes down to risk aversion. Because we are so soft because of the success of America since World War II, we think that the baseline level of society is what we have here. Baseline level humanity is barbaric. But because we think that, we somehow become so weak and so risk averse that we're not willing to take anything on. I don't know if it's because we just don't have confidence in ourselves. We're just afraid to lose everything. But there's something there that makes us risk averse. Maybe it's toxic femininity because people belong in these, people are educated in these super lefty, hyper feminized colleges. I'm not sure what it is, but something makes us afraid to take any risk at all whatsoever, even when it makes no sense. We're not taking risks against something where there isn't even a real risk, like COVID, like outdoors, because it's so pathological to be risk averse that we can't even exist when there is no risk because idiots perceive risk where there isn't actual risk. Am I making any sense?
Can I say something? I'm just curious. I'm curious what you guys' thoughts are on this. You were talking about compliant, and you're talking about being risk averse. Do you think there's a possible revelation in the future where it's just complete opposite? I'm thinking about myself personally, Christianity, as I was growing up, and as I became outside of the home, I turned the opposite way. Not as in the opposite way, but do you get what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're raised in an environment where you're maybe like really Christian, and then you've kind of opened yourself up to exploring different things.
Yeah,
Like that.
yeah. I took the whole thing in a different direction. But
no, you're good. It's just
well,
this is tough stuff for me.
JD Vance talked about this.
Oddly enough, I just bought his book.
And he was talking about it with regard to his book.
I read that a half hour ago.
Right, how when he was younger, he sort of veered away from his faith, and he's being brought back to it. He's been brought back to it recently because the way he looked at things as he got a little bit older were that things that he thought were important to him during the point in his life when he had lost a lot of his faith. The things that he thought were important were money, station in life, having a really high level job at a big corporation or in a big law firm. And that upon reflection, he's discovered that for himself, that other things are more important than that. Family, friends, being able to enjoy life and being comfortable in, and when he went back to the church, the way he was accepted and the friends that he made immediately, that they had a big impact on him. I'm not saying that your situation was exactly like that, Josh.
It's similar, but yeah, I was thinking about
parallels.
The broad spectrum with the Gen Z. Is there going to be a shift in the other direction for compliance and being risk averse?
There's always a pendulum swing, right?
Yeah.
So it only makes sense that there's going to be, and you see, like when you talked about your son saying one of the cool things I remember you saying is when you talked about your son kind of giving you shit about using AI, saying that it's being lazy. Yeah. I know you're not using it in a lazy way, but from his perspective and all of his friends, like just being lazy and using AI to do everything, they probably are. And him pushing back against that, and the fact that it's probably cool to push back against that, it's also probably kind of cool to push back against the risk aversion and to kind of just to being a fucking pussy and like a little like remember the clip of the kids, this was probably 2 years ago, it's a kids in a classroom and they had to watch some mandatory LGBTQ video and they were booing it. And anyone with half a brain knows they're not booing this because they hate gay people. It's because they're tired of this fucking hardcore lefty closed-minded dumb bullshit that makes no fucking sense.
And they were sick of the and even though they might not have recognized it, they might not have put it in language terms as this is bullshit virtue signaling, but that's how they felt. Right? Yeah. They were sick of the virtue signaling. They have friends that are gay. They're extremely tolerant, and they were sick of the virtue signaling and having the hardcore activist part of it shoved down their throat in a classroom.
Yep.
I thought that was so refreshing to see. And I bet it's going to be a trend. And if it hasn't started taking off amongst the youth already, it will very soon, I think. I think you're right, Josh.
Yeah. I just hope we don't have a generation of Bam Margera's. Go complete opposite. But
there'll always be some. The pendulum always swings too far, and that's what causes it to swing back. And I wish it were a little bit more calm, but such is existence, right? Just so long as there's not widespread violence, I'm happy.
I took us off the rail. You want to get back to the regular topic?
No, so I looked up some data on challenges facing the group that we're talking about. The challenges they face are considered by many unprecedented. Economic stability, rapid technological shifts, global crises. These factors have created a perfect storm of unique challenges. A severe mental health crisis, steep hurdles to financial independence, difficulties adjusting to traditional workplace norms. And so that made me dig a little bit deeper. And the one thing that stood out to me on that was mental health. Over a third of Gen Z currently take prescription medication for mental health issues. Among those diagnosed with anxiety, nearly 30% use medications to manage their symptoms. Overall mental health medication, broader health tracking shows that up to 60% of Gen Z uses some type of prescribed medication to manage mental health issues. Up to 60%.
Wow.
And that led me, went deeper down the rabbit hole. So, that's a huge challenge in and of itself. And it's not their fault that they got prescribed medication instead of a parent or teachers or counselors or doctors, clinicians, etc., telling them maybe a pill isn't what you need. Maybe you need to go outside and get some exercise. Maybe you need to get into a sport. Maybe you need to get into reading. Maybe you need to get into video editing. Maybe you need to get into learning something about financial literacy.
Using your brain for something valuable that gives you meaning, something difficult, something that makes you feel like a human being and not just giving you a drug to just numb shit. And I think that goes back to like what I said last week about scaffolding. Josh, you and I built scaffolding so we're not afraid of using AI. We have that built. But if a kid is given drugs, how the fuck are you going to build the scaffolding needed to be a full adult when you're given drugs instead of saying you need to face this problem and you need to grow and you need to become an adult?
Up to 60%.
Well, let me also say this, and based upon what you both say, and not in any defense of either way, but the stigma has changed. Mental health stigma. It's not as hidden away. And so I think, and that's blaming doctors, it's blaming pharmaceutical companies and et cetera. But I think that is why the number has skyrocketed, not because of the cases of kids with mental health issues, because they're candy now. And maybe that's just me. I don't know.
I understand what you're saying. I think it's a good thing that mental health stigma has declined. It should not be a stigma. However, whenever something takes off in popularity, there are people that will benefit from that, right? People will respond to incentives, right? So you're going to have people that it's just going to happen that more and more people are going to jump on that. Doctors are going to use that prescription pad to give meds when it's fashionable to do so, and it's going to overextend itself. Yeah, there's going to be people that benefit from it, but it's just like the trans movement. There are people that are suffering from gender dysphoria that the world is better off for those people. We should be more compassionate to them. We have agreed on this 1,000 times. We don't need to rehash it. But there are also people that are just like mentally disabled. They're looking for something. They're narcissists. They're crazy. And that's the avenue they have in front of them. And because this is an unchecked good in a lot of people's eyes, they'll gravitate towards it and they'll use it because the world is full of bad actors. And that's why progressivism can't be left unchecked, because they don't understand that fact.
Among the challenges that I listed was economic instability. So I went down that rabbit hole. Gen Z has the lowest financial literacy rate of any generation.
Jesus Christ. Say that one more time, please.
Gen Z has the lowest financial literacy rate of any generation. According to the data, the ongoing personal finance index by TIAA, Gen Z adults correctly answer only 38% of basic financial literacy questions.
Wow.
That compares to 55 to 60% of boomers, almost 50% of millennials, and roughly 50% of Gen Xers. College versus high school. Financial literacy is notably the lowest among Gen Z members who have never attended college, as they average only 39% of correct answers. The last rabbit hole.
I'd like to see.
I'm sorry. We got to dwell on that for a second because that's huge. Does it say what? I'm guessing these are like what does a Federal Reserve do? What is compound interest? Things like that, right? Real basic questions. Do you know?
I didn't read the study. I probably will. But as I made sure that the data was properly sourced. It didn't come from a left-wing institute or a right-wing institute, right?
Did they guess as to what the cause was in the paper?
Financial literacy?
Yeah.
What do you financial think illiteracy?
Is it just bad college, bad high school, bad education?
That led me down another rabbit hole. Educators note a literacy comprehension crisis of 25 to 40% of young adults aged 16 to 24 read below level 1 standards, meaning they can't understand basic texts but struggle with complex multi-paragraph material. Functional illiteracy in this group indicates that approximately 25% of individuals aged 16 to 24 are functionally illiterate. They struggle to read above a 5th grade level. Assessments show that a large portion of young adults fall into level 1 competency on a broader scale. Over 50% of U.S. adults test above those levels. It's a perfect storm, right? Where anxiety and the things that parents and teachers and counselors and society allowed to happen, being online constantly, social media, not getting outdoors and getting exercise, believing that your friends are a group of people on Instagram instead of a group of people that you would have hung out with in high school, but that was robbed from you, which leads to anxiety, which leads to prescription drugs, in literacy and competency and financial stability, a perfect storm of illiteracy, which, of course, if you're illiterate, you're not going to become financially literate. And if you're not financially literate, you're not going to become financially stable.
And on a macro level, our GDP drops.
Yeah. And Mark, I don't know how you feel about the Department of Education, but do you think a lot of this comes down to pussiness? So, like, let's look at a child that's not doing well in school, right? A teacher, like, if they're dealing with a modern parent who's probably going to be combative, at least more so than they were historically, be combative. My child can't do anything wrong. My child is a special snowflake, blah, 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 blah. If you have to deal with all of that as a teacher, wouldn't it be easier just to kind of just pass the buck and just kind of move this kid? I'm not blaming the teachers for this. I would never be a teacher. I'd rather shoot myself in the fucking head. They are fucking heroes. I would not fucking deal with that shit.
Josh has his hand up.
That being said, Josh, go ahead.
That's the only way I can get in. Have you guys ever been paddled at school? I know Mark has. I have. Yeah. Scott, have you
paddled?
Yep.
When I lived in a small town in West Ohio called Rockford of about 5,000 people, they brought back paddling. I remember it being a big thing, and this was probably in freaking 92, 93, but I never personally had the pleasure.
Okay.
Yeah, I got paddled a lot.
Principal did it for, man, he had holes in the, yeah. Okay, continue, Scott, sorry.
Okay, yeah, pussiness. Doesn't it just seem like it's just, why not go with the flow? When there's a culture that allows shit to happen, shit happens. When there's a culture that stops shit from happening, shit doesn't happen. Am I right or wrong?
Correct. The reason why we've come to agreement here that the challenges that Gen Z faces, for the most part, aren't their fault, isn't their fault, is because of what was allowed by adults that surrounded them. And yes, that led to pussiness. And also, with respect to what you said about teachers, I'm sure the one viral video that we've all seen a million times, and by video I mean like 3 million different ones, are the parents at kids' sporting events where they're getting all up in the face of the fucking umpire because, my kid wasn't fouled, like, and
those
like,
parents need to be kicked out.
No, these fucking parents couldn't even let their kids play a sport without injecting their own narcissistic horse shit into a game that children are playing, right? And so, yeah, in my household, the teachers were always right. Like, if I wasn't doing good in a subject, I could say, well, the teacher is blah, blah, blah. And that was bullshit. My parents didn't buy that for a minute. It was, no, you need to study harder. No, you need to pay attention better. No, you need to work more at this. And I think a lot of teachers, if not the vast majority of them, are reticent to pressure kids to do well because of a objective fear of being harassed by parents.
Yeah. It's a shame. Josh, you're the only one of us with an actual child. Do you see that? Yeah. Or historically throughout your kid growing up, have you seen that with parents?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's just, it's. I think it's obviously true. It's self-evidently true.
My kid can do no wrong is a commonplace thing in schools, in sports in schools.
I was a t-ball coach for 2 years. I saw a lot.
We did. Yeah. And I went to those games.
Yeah.
And we were talking about fucking 6-year-olds. It was 6. These little motherfuckers were like 3 inches tall, and they were swinging a little ball. Their bats were the size of a pencil, right? It took them a half an hour to run to first base. And you had parents in the stand.
They went to third first.
Right, yeah. And you had parents in the stands yelling at the goddamn coach about 6-year-olds playing t-ball.
The only good thing about that is the satisfaction of a parent getting kicked out. That's just so, for me, like a parent getting kicked out is just amazing. Like, I love that. Like, nope, you're out of here. Nope, you're out of here. Like, I love that so much. It almost makes it worth it. Did you ever do that, Josh?
Yeah, I did. One of them was he was blatantly drunk. But it was, and the other one was just like, yelling about the kids' playing time. That was a big one. Is my kid's not good enough playing time?
It's like, well, maybe your kid shouldn't fucking suck, bitch.
They all suck at that age.
Yeah,
Every single one of them.
Right. So like this parent thought,
you try and rotate as much as you possibly can just to avoid that scenario. But yeah.
No, I remember that. I was at that game and I just thought to myself, this motherfucker thinks that his kid is going to be Willie Mays if he gets to spend a half an hour running to third base after he swings and misses. I think that's a good note to end the podcast, guys. And it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Josh is a better man than me. I would kick all of those parents out immediately and tell them they are never welcome back, and I hate their stupid fucking kid.
I would order a water cannon